Throughout this list thus far, there has been a striking lack of villain characters. Sure, there was Zuko, but he eventually transitioned to a protagonist after undergoing a character arc and becoming a better person. Villains always have the capability to be one of the most gripping parts of a story, and there are many villains I love, with some examples that come to mind being Metalface from Xenoblade Chronicles and the Boss from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5. Even still, they always seem to be outclassed by some of the protagonists in terms of how much I personally like them. However, there is one villain that stands as not just my favorite character in his series, but also my favorite villain in all of fiction. Ladies and gentlemen, Tohru Adachi from Persona 4. I see a lot of criticism thrown Adachi's way for him being a very one-note villain. He's just evil for fun and wants to destroy the world, whoop-de-doo. However, I personally believe this to be truly reductive of the nuances that went into building Adachi's character. Yes, he is a completely evil person with few, if any, redeeming qualities about him, and he does some undeniably heinous things. This doesn't automatically make him a lesser villain than ones with super sad backstories or for the greater good motivations. But, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's backtrack a bit. Admittedly, little is known of Adachi's past, but what we are told is enough to paint a picture. A scene from the Persona 4 Golden anime adaptation shows us the earliest look at Adachi's life, with a brief delve into his life at high school. He was successful in terms of his grades, it seems, but as far as his social life went, he was practically an outcast. He never reached out to any of his peers and was incredibly alone, perhaps giving an implication that he spent all of his time working towards success while ignoring the fun in life. Upon graduating from high school, he goes to the police academy to become a cop, and even at this point, it is quite possible that he was entering a mentally broken state. If we're to believe his own words, he only ever went to police academy so he could carry a gun. But even then, things only went downhill. Despite being in the top of his class, at least he claims so, he is ordered to take a job as an assistant to Ryotaro Dojima in the middle of nowhere town of Yaso Inaba. All of this may sound like a whole lot of not a big deal or all his fault. And in some ways, it is. He seems to have trapped himself in this mindset that success and talent were all that mattered, and he shut himself off from society. Matters weren't helped by him being essentially trapped in Inaba, with a verbally abrasive Dojima as his boss. And so, Adachi had nothing to do in this town but sit at home, eat cabbages, and resent the hand that life had dealt him. With this thought process being fed for so long, Adachi's frustration festered into a loathing of the world and everyone in it. For all he cared, it could end. Not that he could do anything about it. Until he shook hands with a certain gas station attendant and gained the power to murder people without a trace. Using this ability to shove people into TVs where they would be sent to another world and be killed within a few days, Adachi wastes no time in killing Mayumi Yamano and Sakiko Nishi, two women who refused his advances, even claiming later that they deserved it for being, well, in his words, bitches. And when the TV world gets to a point where it will soon merge with the real world and turn everyone into shadows, he welcomes it, because he couldn't care less about this world that has forsaken him. He doesn't just stop there, though. When a chance phone call with Taro Namatame, who also gained the power to interact with the TV world, led to Adachi manipulating the man to push even more people into the TV under the belief that he was saving them from the murderer. Things only got more hectic when the investigation team, led by Dojima's nephew Yu Narukami, perpetuated this belief by saving everyone who was pushed in. This cycle continued for over half a year, and Adachi just watched on the sidelines having the time of his life. In his eyes, this was just a game, and he was the only one who knew the entire board. So, it should be abundantly clear by now that Adachi is a scumbag with no regard for anyone else and undeniably evil. And that's what makes him so great. When you compare Adachi to real life, it is terrifying just how realistic he is. Adachi was once a totally normal, adjusted person, but after too many bad days and far too much time spent with a hatred for the world festering inside of him, it eventually became the only thing he could feel. While I fortunately do not have a personal example of this, Adachi's portrayal of this transformation feels terrifyingly believable and even somewhat understandable. And once his inner transformation was complete, he had no qualms with going all in on his killings just for the fun of it. Despicable, yes, but reflective of the broken mindset his world-hating outlook has given him. Before I wrap up, there's one more thing I want to touch upon. Adachi's bizarre sense of honor. When you and the rest of the investigation team finally catch and defeat Adachi, he accepts that he lost his own game, and he'll do anything to uphold that fact, even trying to get himself convicted when the police fail to press charges due to the supernatural circumstances surrounding the murders. This is seen best in Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, when new antagonist Sho Minazuki tries to get Adachi to help him destroy the world he so much hated. Adachi had absolutely no interest in this. He's already lost, after all. However, he couldn't let himself get killed by Sho, because his death would likely seem like another one caused by Inaba's still unconvicted serial killer, and the investigation would start all over again. As a result, Adachi acts as Sho's right-hand man while simultaneously trying to clue the investigation team in on what's really happening and sabotage the entire operation. He even ends up working together with Yu to deal the final blow against the final boss, the god Hino Kagutsuchi. Adachi may not be a good person, but he at least honors his own rules. The last we see of Adachi is him in his jail cell once again, being visited by his old boss Dojima. And he treats Adachi like an old friend, and they have a laugh together. The sad part about all this is that Adachi still had the capability to improve and get friends, but it came to him far, far too late, after he had already made his choice to take two innocent people's lives. For a murderous scumbag, Adachi is honestly quite the tragic villain, and this dichotomy is what makes him my favorite.